Larryville podcast. Something I've been wanting to put together for quite a while now, and finally having the time to put it together and actually get it done. First topic that we kind of wanted to talk about, or that I've been wanting to talk about and get some information out there on is just coaching in general, just the act of coaching, what it means to be a coach, what are characteristics of a successful coach, and then maybe even some specifics on how to coach in terms of different disciplines, whether it be a sport, a lifting, or whatever the case may be. I have been in the training world, personal training world, strength coach world for, between the two, 12 years now, and basically I'm getting better and better at coaching and understanding how to get the athletes that I coach to do what I need them to do to increase their performance and stay safe. My real philosophy on the subject is basically just getting people to be to understand what we want, understand why they're doing it. In a post coming up that'll be on the blog, I'm going to write out some steps that I usually use when I'm coaching someone or teaching someone a new skill. And again, it's very, very basic, but it's worked for me. But getting them to understand basic skills, and I found that without being too wordy, you don't want to bore them to death, and you don't want to pound someone with a bunch of big words just to sound smart. But essentially what I want to do is get them to understand why I'm having them do the lift, and that way once it seeps in of why they're doing it, when the going gets tough and that one lift is pretty hard and they're having a hard time getting above and pushing past that really tough last rep, in their back of their mind they know, okay, he's having me do this because it's going to make me stronger, and it's easier for them to push through. It's easier for those athletes to push through when they understand why they're doing what they're doing. Not just how to do it, not just proper form, obviously that's important too, but the why. We teach each session as an educational session, not for me to just lecture for an hour, but for them to, trial and error. I explain what needs to be done and why. The athlete carries it out, and we assess. We look at the successes and failures, and we move on from there and try to find out what we can do to get better. Anyways, pretty basic. So more to come on that in a written form. But what I thought I would do is go out and interview people who have been in the field much longer than myself, and had different successes, and looking at different types of coaching, and maybe over the course of the next couple months put together a good compilation of some characteristics that all of these coaches seem to have. The first coach that we're going to talk to is Mr. Tim Byers. He's the assistant track and field and cross country coach at Ottawa University. He's been coaching for a number of years now. He's been a good friend of mine the last 2 or 3 years, and we've worked really closely together, helping some of his athletes who were injured kind of come back, work on some workouts to keep them moving while protecting them. And then most recently helping them with the sprinters and throwers, develop some preseason workouts for the university. So that's how I know Coach. He's also a fun guy, very active in triathlons, and he competes at high levels there. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it on over, and we're going to jump right into the interview with Tim Byers. All right, here we go. Okay, so as we were talking about coaching, I was going to ask you a few questions just about your coaching background. So first, if you just start with your name and coaching background, how you got into coaching and all that kind of stuff.
My name's Tim Byers. I'm the assistant track and field and cross country coach here at Ottawa University. I've been I'm going on my 17th year as a coach. I've coached everywhere from the NAIA to NCAA Division I, Division II, and Division III. And I also have a youth team which I coach, which is kids from basically 2nd grade to 8th grade. So, and I also do some personal training on the side during the summers, helping people meet their fitness goals.
Okay. And so what got you into coaching?
What got me into coaching? Well, I started out as an athletic trainer in college, and you know what? Not that I didn't like taping an occasional ankle or, rehabbing, and it was very rewarding, but I just loved watching the coaches and how they interacted with every athlete a little bit different.
Right.
And I enjoyed that. And so after my first year of athletic training, I went to the coach at where I was a thrower at Park College, now Park University, and I asked the coach, I said, hey, I want to still be an athlete, but can I also be a student coach? Back in those days, if you're old enough to drive a vehicle, they made you a student, gave you a student coach.
Right.
And so that's what I started doing. So I threw the javelin, and then after I got doing my event, I would go work with the shot putters and the discus throwers.
Okay.
And that's how it kind of all started. And then I ended up with a grad assistant position as a coach at Wisconsin Lacrosse, which is for Division III. They've won 21 national championships in track and field and cross country. So I think it was kind of going to Park and then going to Wisconsin Lacrosse really catapulted me. Coaching at a good school and being a part of a good program really kind of catapulted me into where this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Right. Well, that sounds like a pretty straightforward, but it's kind of similar. I started out as an athletic trainer, as you know, and got into personal training and strength coaching, much for the same reasons. I kind of saw the little bit of instant gratification where you could take someone's technique and just change it, and they could have instant results right away, which was a lot of fun. Not that athletic training didn't give me enjoyment; it just
I understand.
This was a different side of things. If you were to say your coaching philosophy, like if you had to sum it up like a mission statement, how you approach teaching, coaching the athlete?
Pretty simple. And it's not a whole lot of rocket science, I don't think. I think a lot of people look at other people's styles and say, I want to be like that. But really, all you can be is you. And that's, I coach people on how I would like to be coached.
Right.
I'm not a yeller. I'm not a screamer. I don't cuss. I mean, those sorts of things. Some people, I treat everyone as an individual. Some people need a pat on the back. Some need a kick in the pants. That's the great thing about coaching, is that each person is different. I don't believe in cookie cutter workouts and this is the only thing that's going to work for this person. And I also realize what works one year may not work the next year. Heck, it may not work the next day. Right. So it's always a challenge for me. So I like the variety, and so the variety in my coaching along, with the one-on-one interaction is what I really, that's kind of my philosophy. Right. I coach how I'd want to be coached.
I like it. I know, there's a lot of, if you want to say by the book, approaches where, you see a textbook on, and you see people following these steps, which isn't wrong necessarily, but as you said, everyone's different. Right. And you can't always have the same approach for everybody.
I'm not saying that I haven't stolen anything from John Wooden or.
That leads into the next question. Who are your influences, Coach?
John Wooden.
I definitely have a John Wooden. Obviously,
John Wooden, a great basketball player. People may be asking, but he's a basketball player. John Wooden was a teacher. He was a wizard. Right. He was, then he was a coach. Right. He understood people. And one of my favorite techniques that he uses for every negative that he uses two positives afterwards. So with my throwers, hey, that is the hand release we're looking for, but your hips and your feet were in the perfect position. Now we can correct it and go on. Okay. So the student athlete is just not hearing negative all the time. Right. Not all the time. Right. And, John Wooden probably being a big influence of mine. Yeah. Definitely. For the people, I never met him. Sure. But I've read every book on him and everything. So.
Well, yeah. And like I said, it's sifting through all the stuff that's out there and finding what works, discarding what doesn't. Right. All that kind of. There's so many influences out there, and everyone's going to pick their different ones.
I like a Lou Holtz who's very vocal. Yeah. And very I don't know, Lou Holtz, one of his big things was, he goes, if he went to practice and there wasn't a controversy, he'd create one. That was his thing. He thought his teams worked best under turmoil and, that sort of thing, which I completely respect. That's what that isn't what I want to do, but I respected how he could fire up a team.
Right.
He gets me fired up still watching ESPN or whatever station he's on and everything.
He just commands that attention.
That sort of thing, absolutely.
Yeah. Right. So like when you're kind of expanding what you said about one negative following with two positives, very much like I don't know if we want to get too technical from a cognitive learning outcome approach, but like very educational. So a coaching for you may not necessarily be just yelling out, barking out cues like go lower, drive the hips.
Right, exactly.
It's more getting the athlete to understand what they're doing. Is that right?
That's right, because in the classic, I go to many high school and junior high meets and that.
Yeah.
And one thing I hear a coach saying is pump your arms, which is one of my biggest pet peeves.
Sure.
Pumping your arms, if you can imagine, is somebody pumping up a tire on a manual air pump,
we've all
right?
done that, yeah.
That's pumping your arms, pushing your arms up and down. I think what they're trying to say is push your elbows back.
Right.
So that's the communication thing that I'm talking about.
Right.
That's where you need to say, to the student, okay, this is what I mean when I'm, when pumping your arms. I don't know if that's what they're conveying over, because every time they say pump your arms, I never see a kid actually do it right.
Right.
And so, the words I use are drive, shoulders down, pushing forward. Those sorts of things are very specific commands.
But you've worked with your athletes, so when you say that, they know what you mean by that.
They know exactly what I mean by that.
Because sometimes, you're working with someone with a squat and you're saying, go lower, and they're like, I think I'm going low. I thought I was.
Yeah.
But if you have a cue as to, when you say something, that's where they're at or where they need to be.
Exactly.
And then again, that's setting that up.
Or the other one's relax. Well, why do you want them to relax? They're competing at the highest level right here. I don't want them to relax.
Just take a break. Ease up.
Yeah, have a peanut butter sandwich.
It's a 100-meter dash.
Yeah, no, we don't want them to relax. We want them to be, get out there and do their best. So.
What are some of the, in terms of your coaching experience, the athletes that you've worked with, either some neat stories or maybe some accomplishments, something that you were proud of, of one of your athletes, working hard on something and something like that. You got any?
I'm always proud of my athletes, and a lot of people, I think, look at it as winning or losing.
Yeah.
And I look at it as, are they getting better? They come to me because they don't want their career to end in high school.
Okay.
So now I am taking to the next point. When I recruit them to bring them in here, I don't recruit them for them to plateau. I recruit them to get better, to get stronger, and to get smarter. And I always said a smart athlete's a dangerous athlete. They really are, because they start understanding everything.
Okay.
But as accomplishments, number one is to be a college graduate.
Yeah.
Student athlete. I really truly believe in that. I want them to have that piece of paper.
Right.
Let's walk across that. Walk across that stage, and I'm a college graduate. And then number two. I'm not going to say or toot my own horn, but I've had Olympic qualifiers. I've had national champions. I've had All-Americans, conference winners, and just this last year, Clarence Anderson, a football player here also at Ottawa University, came in, and he ran exceptionally well. Someone might have said there's no way he's going to run faster than 21:70, which was his PR, but we got him down to 21 flat.
Yeah.
We missed the Olympic trials by 0.2, and so that was someone that I'm very proud of. That people saying he's not going to get any faster, but you know what, he got faster, and he bought into the program, and he understood, and he listened.
Right.
And that was great. I had a javelin thrower named Dia Dolman when I was at Wartburg College, and Dia was recruited as an 800 runner. I went to the head coach and I said, I saw this girl working out in the weight room. I said, Coach, I think she can throw javelin. And just by the way how strong she is, she's a volleyball player, the move. It's like, she's an 800 runner. She runs a 2:20-800, and she's going to be an 800. I said, can I have her for 10 minutes? Half an hour once a week. after the struggle, well, and I don't know. So he convinced him to, later, let me have her,
right?
For this short amount of time, and we started doing some stabs, just basic stuff. Along came her first meet, and she had never competed in a meet in the javelin.
Okay.
In fact, she didn't even have a full run-up. We did 4 crossovers, and she released the javelin. When her 4 crossovers and released javelin, she threw 140 feet and qualified automatically for the national meet on her very first throw ever. The coach came up to me and said, "How'd she do?" And I told her, he goes, "I think you have yourself a javelin thrower." I think I do. She no longer ran the 800.
Yeah.
Later, she went on to set the national record. It was a national champion for me at 160 feet.
Wow.
And then she also qualified for the Olympic trials.
That's amazing.
So that's probably the most proud of someone who's never ever even. I was kind of funny. I gave her the javelin backwards, just joking wise, and she was going to throw it backwards because she had no idea even how to hold it.
That's funny.
So it was kind of a fun thing. But she was just a great individual, willing to learn and everything. So that's probably my biggest, proudest success story as a coach, to have a national champion at such a young age, and
that's cool.
That was a national record at the time also.
Yeah.
She ended up being a 2-time national champion also.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, those are fun. I mean, and anytime you have, the performance, accolades is nice, but like you said, getting the piece of paper in college that says, "Hey, I graduated."
Yeah.
That building character, building men and women, competent men and women, not just physically, but
absolutely
mentally. So, I know you and I have talked about your interest or potential for getting certified as a Ironman triathlon coach certification.
Right. Yeah.
2 things. One, I know you compete in those yourself. So when you're coaching yourself versus getting this certification or learning more about how to coach other people, how's that? A, tell me about the certification if you know much about it, and B, how do you coach yourself?
Let's talk about coaching yourself, because every coach thinks he can coach himself.
I can't.
I've tried, and I've for a time it works.
Yeah.
I think when you're first starting out, you know yourself the best. So,
right.
But once you get past that point of where you're in pretty good shape, and physically and mentally in good shape,
right.
I know you need to hire a coach to help. A coach needs a coach.
Right.
I've coached myself through 9 marathons.
Right.
5 fulls and a half, and I'm now on my I'm competing hopefully in my 5th Ironman this next year. But there's no doubt in my mind this time I'm going to go out, I'm going to open up the wallet, and I'm going to hire a triathlon coach.
Right.
And in light of that, I myself want to be certified as a USA triathlon coach. Right. Also, living in Lawrence, Kansas, probably one of the friendliest triathlon smaller cities in the nation. It's been documented and everything. We have a lot of athletes around there that are looking, that will pay very nice money for someone to write them a workout.
Yeah.
And would that be something I'd like to do, part-time job in the summer when things have slowed down with cross-country and track? Absolutely. Absolutely. And plus, I want to make sure that they're getting
quality,
good quality coaching, and I would want to be certified before I do any of that.
Excellent. What is that like, getting certified? Do you know, or have you looked into it?
It's a very competitive field. They only accept 40 students per class.
That's right.
They only have 15 classes per year, and they fill up in a heartbeat. And so I'm already got the date. Now I have a couple of dates in case I don't get into one. But it includes everything from a resume. They want to make sure that they're, having the right people a part of the course also.
Right.
So, that's important to me. I got to have a resume together. Hopefully my years of coaching and my involvement so far.
Right.
I've done everything from doing, working the triathlon events to actually competing in them.
So just immersing yourself in that world. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And so that excites me. That excites me that they're, possibly, someday to be, to do that sort of coaching, which I love track and field. I'm not saying I know everything, because I'm still doing, learning a lot
Yeah.
from this field. But I think just as much as you can expand yourself, and why can't you carry over that cross training to track and field,
Right.
or any other sport? You can.
Yeah.
So, and that excites me. Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Who you mentioned some coaches that have influenced you in the past. Is there anyone out there right now, like if you could go to a seminar, and pay to go listen to or pay to work with one-on-one,
Right.
who's currently working coaching today?
I would say Clyde Hart,
Okay.
the sprints coach at Baylor. Coach Clyde Hart has had multiple Olympic champions,
Right.
national champions, everything. A lot of my workouts are based off of his what he thinks is a good way
Right.
to do everything. And so, if I would love to sit down and just pick his brain and say,
Sure.
this is I've met him a couple times. I've shaken his hand, kind of in awe, like, oh, I just met Coach Clyde Hart,
Right.
and everything.
Yeah.
And if you look, you were considered equal as coaches, but I put him way above where I'd like to be someday.
Right.
I want someone to say, hey, maybe someday you'd like to sit down and talk to Coach Byers about my sprinters.
There you go.
Someday, which would be a complete honor.
Absolutely.
And everything. But you have to earn that respect, and you have to get out there and work hard for it.
Right. Cool. Anything else you would like to add about just being a coach in general? Obviously, you and I have talked many times. It's a rewarding endeavor, obviously, but
Right.
you can tell you enjoy it.
I don't have to coach.
Yeah.
I get to coach, and that's the way I look at it every morning.
Yeah.
I wake up in the morning. I have a lot of friends who work in cubicles and
Yeah.
do that sort of thing. Man, I have to go to work.
Yeah.
I've never woke up in the morning and saying, I have to go coach today. I get to coach. I get to come to work in shorts and dry fit shirts, and and I get to be with athletes and students that keep me young, and I enjoy that.
Yeah.
And everything. And so, I get to coach every day. I think it's the best. I'm not doing it. I'm obviously not being a track coach for the money.
Right.
I love what I do, and I
Right.
love being around these people. And like I said, they keep me young, and they keep my mind thinking of all different things to do and everything.
Right.
So, yep, I get to coach.
Awesome. Well, thanks for letting me talk with you.
Hey, no problem.
And I think we're good. All right. Well, thank you for listening to the first ever podcast for lifting in Larryville. There's going to be many more to come. We got a lot of cool topics coming up. Hopefully, we'll have a quick discussion on coaching in a blog post coming up soon. So read that as it comes up, and talk to you soon.